And they are lucky someone didn't get killed right here as the roof collapses on the stage for the Freedom 250 4th of July celebration. This is an absolute embarrassment, complete humiliation. Trump is said to be fuming, raging, ordering that pics like the one you see in the middle are removed from social media, showing that no one is coming to his little gathering. The Great American State Fair, as they call it, it is truly an embarrassment. The lack of people, the non-interest from the citizens of this country in this whole event is one thing. But then, as you just saw, the stage falling apart. Also, the statue that sits down here at the front, that some think is real or something, it's made of like plaster. It's falling apart, and they've been up there trying to caulk it together and keep the whole thing together. This is really showing what America is all about, right? Trump's faking the whole thing, and the whole thing's falling apart. No one believes in him. No one believes in this country.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, call halal yamla, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem HaRachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone that I learned this truth from. And also peace and salutations to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And pretty much what you just saw right there, okay, in this video, which this is from Dabble77 off YouTube. All right, this is fair use, fair use. All right, and as you see, the title of his video, humiliating Freedom 250 stage roof panels falls and almost, all right, unalives dancers. Trump rages over turnout. And pretty much as you saw from the the first minute and 20 seconds of this video from Dabble7, you had a group of dancers rehearsing a particular dance for the America 250 ceremonies or celebration, whatever it may be. Okay, July 4th coming up this Saturday. All right, and I just saw during their dance rehearsal, one of the panels, all right, see on the left side of this video, one of the other panels fell down from the roof, okay, which possibly could have injured or even unalived some of the other dancers. All right, and as you even see here in the middle of this picture, okay, you had a particular fair or something going on out there in Washington D.C. All right, and as you see, it had very little turnout. All right, showing you that that the whole patriotic, American spirit is waning here in America. All right, it's dying down. All right, and even as Dabble was pretty much explaining how you even had this particular statue or sculpture or whatever right here, okay, that was pretty much breaking down and falling apart. It was made out of some type of synthetic or artificial fake material, whatever, and it was falling apart. But Esau had particular workers trying to put it together, but it just kept continuing to fall apart. And all these things are just more and more small signs showing that America, Babylon the Great as a whole, is falling apart. Okay, the infrastructure of this place is falling apart. The economy of this place is falling apart. The politics falling apart. The people falling apart. All right, the so-called culture here in America falling apart. The bread and the circus. All right, the so-called entertainment. The daughters of music, as it speaks of in Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. All right, but pretty much these few things that Dabble pointed out in this video, which we, the hopeful elect, the men of the Lord, we look at things in a spiritual sense. These are all just more and more spiritual signs amongst many other spiritual signs across America, showing that this place is completely falling apart. All right. This place is Babylon is falling apart. Okay. This place is on its way out. Esau's rulership is falling apart, is divided. Okay. And this current society is on its way out. Okay, leading up to the return of Yahweh Shah Mashiach. All right, let's get Jeremiah. This is Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 8. It says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her, if so be she may be healed. Verse 9. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. Alright, so verse 8 again, Jeremiah 51 and 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. Okay, and this place cannot be healed, nor will it be healed. All right, that's according to the will of Yahweh Shema Shah, because the Lord is slowly but surely breaking down this place, all right, all the way down to the foundation thereof, and showing even various signs, like we just seen in that video clip. Okay, more and more small signs, showing you that this wasn't done by coincidence. This stage roof falling, okay, these this particular fair, state fair, or whatever, having very little turnout. Okay, these things weren't done by coincidence. No, these things are all done according to the will of Yahweh Shema Shah, ultimately via prophecy. Because again, Babylon has fallen. All right, these people here in America, they don't have that same patriotic, American spirit as they had in times past. Okay, people across America boasting in their so-called freedom, boasting in their so-called patriotism, and their love for their so-called country. That's all out the window, because more and more, especially as of from ever since Trump got back in office, and even before that, but especially when Trump got back in office back in January of last year, 2025. Looking at his current presidency, for example, is showing these so-called American people more and more that their own government, all right, this whole left versus right paradigm, Democrat and Republican, okay, is not for the best interests of the so-called American people, because ultimately this government is all paid, bought and paid for by the small hats. This current American government, and all these American governments, presidencies for that matter, okay, have always in some way, shape, or form did the bidding of the elite bankers, okay, the elite, banking families of Esau, Edom, and as well done the bidding of the small hats, constantly fighting in wars throughout the West Asia, or what Esau would call the so-called Middle East, right? Destabilizing these countries throughout West Asia, all right, and all to what? Strengthen the small hats, okay. And then now here we see Esau in his outer days, especially under this Trump administration, now trying to tap back into that Edomite supremacist spirit, okay, even trying to tap back into his plantation Christianity, as we see under this Trump administration. One of the things that this administration has been boasting in, amongst various other things, is making America so-called Christian again. Okay, acting as if America was founded off of righteous biblical principles, and all about the Most High and His Son and the Bible and this that, and the third. Okay, but even as we've been seeing over this past year, so and especially from 2020 up until now, all right, for the most part, but especially over this past year and a half or so, we've been seeing American Christianity, okay, circling the drain, Okay, church attendance is at an all-time low. People's belief in the Most High and the Son here in America is at an all-time low. Okay, people's trust in the government is at an all-time low. Trump's approval rating has been steeply declining over these past several months. Right? Anytime you go online on whether it be on social media, Twitter X, YouTube, okay, these different platforms, people are cursing out this system and cursing out this government. All right, whether it be the Epstein files, or people complaining about the inflation, okay, the increase in rent, the increase in housing, the increase in food, all right, gas prices, all right, basic essential needs, the increase in the increase in price for medical needs, all right, and so on and so forth. All right, all these things are taking the patriotic spirit, all right, out of these American people, as they see their government, okay, can give two shits about them. And as well, all these things just further show that Babylon the Great has fallen. Okay, this place is through. All right, to the point to where this place can't be healed, it can't be repaired. All right, it can only get worse and worse and worse, and ultimately this place is just circling the drain. Okay, which circling the drain is basically a medical term for when something or someone is slowly dying. All right, and that's what's happening to America, Babylon the Great. This place is slowly dying. All right, all according to the will of Yahweh Bashim Shai. Let's get Psalm 75 in verse 6. It says, "For promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south, but Yahweh is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another." You see that? And as Yahweh Shemel Shai is putting down and bringing down Babylon the Great, all right, on the other end, the Lord is also setting up his government, his kingdom, via what? His men, the tabernacle of David. You see that? As Esau, Edom, and these heathen nations, and 2/3 of our people are waxing weaker and weaker and waxing worse and worse in these outer days. Like the Apostle Paul spoke about in 2 Timothy 3. He talks about, evil men waxing worse and worse, or, evil in general. Okay, Esau, Edom, the heathen nations, 2/3 of our people, okay, are waxing worse and worse and waxing weaker and weaker as, we get closer and closer to Yahweh Shai, while at the same time, okay, the elect, the remnant of the nation of Israel, the tabernacle of David, Lord will not be able to number, are waxing stronger and stronger. Okay, waxing stronger in our faith in Yahweh Shema Shai, waxing stronger and stronger in our steadfastness in His truth, waxing stronger and stronger in wisdom, waxing stronger and stronger in the spirit. All right. And as it said again, Psalm 75 verse 7, "But Yahweh is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another." Verse 8, it says, "For in the hand of the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai there is a cup, and the wine is red. It is full of mixture, and he poured out of the same. But the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink them." Yeah. And what does the dregs represent? These different judgments. Okay, famine, pestilence. All right, great death, great sorrow, great tribulation. All right. And these are, just a few of the judgments that the Lord is getting ready to bring upon Babylon the Great. Okay. Matter of fact, let's get Revelation 18. Revelation 18. All right. Babylon has fallen. Okay. And of course, as you read in this chapter goes into prophecy against Babylon the Great. Okay. And, ultimately the judgments that the Lord is getting ready to bring upon Babylon the Great, America. All right. Says, we'll just jump down. Matter of fact, Revelation 18 and 1, it says, "And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. Okay, verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Yeah, and that's ultimately going into after the Lord destroys America with the ICBM nuclear missiles, hypersonic missiles, along with the chariots of Yahweh Shai and the holy angels. Okay, the only and make this place an utter desolation. All right, the only thing that's going to inhabit America after its destruction is different manner of unclean birds and desert creatures and so on and so forth. All right, but as it said, this angel, okay, as it said, Revelation 18 verse 2, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, is fallen. All right, let's look up this word fallen.
Strong's G 4098. Pipto. Pipto.
All right, and it means to descend from a higher place to a lower. Okay, hey, what does it say in Isaiah 47, which speaks about what? The virgin daughter of Babylon. All right, the virgin daughter of Babylon, which is also Babylon the Great, America, in these end times. It says what in Isaiah 47? Sit thou in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, for there is no throne, roughly paraphrasing it. Sitting down in the dust represents what? Being cast down or being brought down to a lower state or a lower position, right? And so as it's going into here in Revelation 18, Babylon the Great, which is also the virgin daughter of Babylon, the same thing. Okay, this Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen. This word fallen, as we see again, it goes into to descend from a higher place to a lower, to fall, to be thrust down. It says right here, metaphorically, to fall under judgment. All right, came under condemnation. All right, in this place, America is condemned. All right, and it's falling under the judgment of Yahweh Shemel Shai. Okay, it says to descend from an erect to a prostrate position. All right. And it continues to go on. All right, but you pretty much get the idea. All right, Babylon the Great is fallen, is being brought to a low state, okay, to a low position. Its authority throughout the earth America is losing more and more authority throughout the earth as we see all these different nations, rising up against America, forming their own little alliances. You got the BRICS nations. Okay, you got Russia and China and Iran, right? And various other countries joining with them. All right, but all these things again, symbolize that America is fallen. I'm gonna jump down to verse 6. Matter of fact, verse 5. Revelation 18 and 5, it says, For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh hath remembered her iniquities. Okay, all the wickedness that is done first and foremost to his people, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the slavery, the genocide, the beatings, okay, stripping us from our nationality, our culture, okay, and giving us plantation Christianity, giving us pork and all these other abominations that America has fed us via Esau, Edom. Okay, because mind you as well, the judgment upon Babylon the Great is also tied to the judgment upon Esau, Edom. Okay, it says Revelation 18 verse 5, For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh Ba'al Shai hath remembered her iniquities. Verse 6, Reward her even as she rewarded you. Double unto her according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled, fill her double. All right, and that's what the Lord's getting ready to do upon this place. Okay, give Babylon the Great a double portion of destruction. Okay, compared to what Esau, Edom, and America has done to our people. All right, do all the things that Esau and his wicked system here in America has done to our people, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, the true Israelites. Hey, the Lord's getting ready to reward this place double for what it's done unto us. Okay, double judgments, double destruction. All right, ICBM nuclear missiles, along with the chariots of Yahweh and the holy angels. Okay, that's double destruction. All right, it says, verse 7, how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously. All right, bread and circus, eating, drinking, marrying, being given into marriage. Right, it says, so much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Yeah, and that speaks to the pride and the arrogancy of this place. For a long time, the average Edomite here in America thought that America would just rule forever. Okay, going throughout the earth, grape robbing and murdering, overthrowing governments, all right, deriding strongholds as it speaks of in Habakkuk, the first chapter, right? And just going throughout the four corners of the earth and just having his way via what? The sword. All right, but now, you get on the internet today, the average Edomite can feel it in the air that this place is on its way out. Okay, something big is getting ready to happen here in America. All right, America is no longer, dominating, various wars throughout the earth anymore. Look at what's going on between America and Iran right now. Pretty much America, all right, to a certain extent, is getting his ass whooped by Iran. Okay, and not to mention, this government is being more and more exposed to be bought and paid for by the small hats, right? And the average Edomite here in America, as they're waking up and seeing this place for the corruption that it is, right? Seeing how corrupt that government is, seeing how fake and corrupt the culture of this place is, the food, the water, the air, all right? The average Edomite knows within their minds that this place is on its way out. Okay, it says Revelation 18 verse 7, how much she had glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. All right, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. All right, but verse 8, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai, who judgeth her. Yeah, we know that great death and mourning and famine is not going to come upon America in one literal day per se, but ultimately when you go into how the word day is used in the Bible, of course sometimes a day could be referring to an actual 24-hour day, right? But as well, all right, this word day.
Strong's G 2250. Hemera. Hemera.
All right, and it goes into the day used of the natural day, or the interval between sunrise and sunset, as distinguished from, and says let's see. Yep, it says right here, used of time in general, i.e., days of his life. See that? So the word day is in a biblical sense, it's not always necessarily referring to an actual 24-hour day per se. All right, but sometimes the word day can be used to refer to time in general. Okay, whether it be years or weeks or months. All right, but as it read again, Revelation 18 and verse 8, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, meaning one particular time period, death and mourning and famine. And hey, we see these three things and more ramping up more and more across America. Farmers catching hell, okay, There's talks of energy shortages, right? The power grid going out very soon. All right, and not to mention the situation with the Strait of Hormuz being closed down. All right, uh, various factories and warehouses and food processing plants being burned down, as we've been seeing plenty of that going on from 2020 up until now. All right, and not to mention more train derailments are still taking place. Okay, wildfires are still going on across America, burning down farmland and you know particular lands where crops and fruits and vegetables grow at. All right, and all these things is just hey, is all the will of Yahweh Shemel Shai at the end of the day, bringing plagues upon this place. Okay, famine, mourning, perplexity. Okay, which is going to lead to what? Great death, sorrows, and mourning. All right, and this is the ultimate plague that the Lord is getting ready to bring upon this place. It says, "And she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai who judgeth her." And how is the Lord getting ready to utterly burn this place with fire and turn America to a lake of fire? By way of ICBM nuclear missiles, hypersonic nuclear missiles, as well as the fire from the chariots of Yahweh Shai and the holy angels. Okay, and again, referring back to this video right here by Dabu7. Okay, these the clips that we just seen in this video are just small signs showing you that we're closer and closer to seeing America's destruction. Okay, we're seeing America falling apart more and more each day. Year by the year. All right, day by day. Okay, because ultimately, when it's all said and done, Yahweh Shema Shai is putting down Babylon the Great and setting up his government. Okay, his kingdom. All right, the tabernacle of David, the men of the Lord. Okay, the elect, the remnant of the nation of Israel. Lord will not be of their number. All right, but so with that, Lord willing, this video is edifying, and until next time, shalom.